Good evening all and welcome. My name is Isabella Jarrett and I am from the Queensland Police Service. I will be discussing a future scenario whereby connected and autonomous vehicles are harnessed for either use as or use in conjunction with remote immobiliser technology to allow police to stop fleeing vehicles without the need to engage in pursuits. I think the further development of this technology and its integration into the toolkit of on-road officers is highly likely, not just because it's possible from a technological standpoint, but due to the current political climate surrounding and public attention on stolen vehicles and police pursuits. Academic research into these technologies and their policing applications is also expanding and would be increasingly helpful in transforming these ideas into reality. Throughout this presentation, I will discuss the current policing context in Queensland likely to necessitate the adoption of this technology, the current state of available technology and likely future directions, as well as the federal and state positions on the technology and public attitudes. Pursuits are a phenomenon familiar to all of us in law enforcement. What qualifies as a pursuit is not new information. But put simply, it is the continued follow of a vehicle after that vehicle fails to stop as directed. They are highly publicised, highly criticised, and highly regulated facet of policing across the world. Queensland policies will be referred to heavily throughout this presentation. In addition to being my home state, it has Australia's most reviewed policy, and a policy referred to often as restrictive. QPS pursuit policy has undergone review in 1998, 2003, 2005 and 2010. Key findings from each review are highlighted in the timeline. A recurring theme throughout was the use of technology to decrease the need for pursuits. Dr. Gabby Hoffman in 2003 first discussed remote engine immobilisers, although the technology was then in its infancy and labelled as cost prohibitive. The state coroner in 2010 further encouraged the exploration of technological developments to decrease the need for and risk of pursuits. Also common among these reviews was the prevalence of pursuits involving stolen cars. Queensland has been the state to see the highest rates of stolen vehicles each year since 2021. This, coupled with the restrictive pursuit policy, means that a pursuit-free method of stopping stolen vehicles or other fleeing vehicles is likely higher on the agenda than it may be in other areas. Therefore, the implementation of remote engine immobilisers is a plausible future direction. This likelihood is exacerbated even further when we look at community perceptions. The most up-to-date statistics that reflect the people of Queensland's thoughts on the state of crime and crime prevention can be gleaned from the Community Experience Survey published in 2024 and the QPS Annual Report from 2023 to 24. The Experience Survey highlighted that trust and confidence in police were relatively low, as were scores for the time it takes police to respond to complaints and follow them through. Confidence and trust in police also scored poorly in the 2023 to 24 annual report. Poor results were seen in satisfaction after contacting police and in the public's feelings of safety. Less data-driven but more striking examples of the high degree of frustration at the rate of property crime and stolen vehicles are instances of vigilantism. Numerous articles can be found about vigilante groups performing citizens' arrests or pursuing stolen cars. Rising crime rates coupled with police not chasing stolen cars is evidently impacting the public and police. It's clear a better option is needed. Some quotes here help sum up why implementing remote immobilisation technology is a likely direction for law enforcement generally, but particularly in Queensland. The first is from a 2020 study into pursuits by London's Metropolitan Police Service, highlighting the need for pursuit avoidance technology. The following capture the current Queensland political climate. In October 2024, Queensland's pursuit policy was again brought into question when the Queensland Police Union lobbied for the implementation of pit manoeuvres. This was not opposed by then opposition leader and now Premier David Crisafulli. Premier at the time, Stephen Miles, tried to steer the narrative towards new tyre deflation devices being trialled by QPS, praising the safety benefits of remote activation and saying these kinds of resources should be further utilised. The QPS Commissioner also stated that although safety was paramount, he was open to reviewing the pursuit policy. We will now explore current and emerging technology in the realm of immobilisation, autonomous and connected vehicles, so we can understand how these may be adapted to policing. Anti-theft immobilisers work by transmitting a code from the vehicle's key to a unit in the engine. If the codes don't match, the vehicle won't start. They were introduced to prevent hot wiring or starting an engine with incorrect vehicle keys or by putting tools in the ignition. This type of tech has been mandatory in all Australian vehicles since 1998. Secondary immobilisers are designed to complement standard anti-theft immobilisers by requiring a passcode to start the engine, even if the driver is in possession of the keys. This type of technology is currently subject to a government subsidised trial across Queensland. Remote engine immobilisers, here on out referred to as REI, describe technologies that enable for vehicle engines to be terminated while it is in motion. The Australia and New Zealand Policing Advisory Agency released a report in 2019 that separated this technology into 3 categories. Category 1 are REI themselves, the technology that allows for vehicles to be remotely restricted or stopped. These devices come in varying forms, but each need 2 distinct components to work successfully: the onboard device itself and the environment it's operated in. Some companies are manufacturing the type of tech, like Teltonica and OnStar in America, TrackN in Australia and New Zealand, and Savalec devices in Europe. Each of these are technology embedded in the car that are then accessed by the manufacturer to gain control at the request of the owner, and often coordinated with law enforcement, except for Savalec, which is a controlled EMP utilised only by law enforcement. Category 2 are systems similar to anti-theft and secondary immobilisers or other vehicle tracking systems. Category 3 are technology that support immobilisation functions. Examples of this are connected and autonomous vehicle technology. Connected vehicles are split into 3 categories: vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, and vehicle to other. In 2021, the Queensland Government projected that elements of connected vehicle technology would begin to be seen more regularly across Australian roads. It was at the time running a pilot program for connected vehicles in the city of Ipswich. In 2022, the leveraging of these technologies was referenced in the Queensland Road Safety Strategy through to 2031. Autonomous vehicles are vehicles that can operate without human input, more colloquially known as self-driving or even driverless vehicles. We've seen self-drive elements on the small scale: cruise control, automatic braking and crash avoidance, lane assist or auto steer functions in newer vehicles. Driverless cars began sweeping the US a few years ago, with people able to order a rideshare and get picked up in something like this, that would take them where they wanted to go by utilising the onboard operating technology and numerous cameras and sensors equipped to the outside. An example of autonomous technologies being used to stop vehicles is Tesla. In 2023, Australian tennis player Nick Kyrgios made headlines after using the GPS tracking on his stolen Tesla, along with the valet function to restrict the vehicle's speed, to aid police in apprehending the thief. In 2024, police have stopped the car of what was later revealed to be a drunk and drug-affected driver who had fallen asleep at the wheel by taking advantage of the vehicle's numerous self-drive functions. This image is from the Queensland Government's Connected Vehicle webpage, and it depicts a future scenario whereby autonomous and connected vehicles are merged. This is referred to as a cooperative intelligence transport system. Cooperative intelligence transport systems involve adding sensors into transport infrastructure so that vehicles can wirelessly communicate with other vehicles or with that infrastructure. The point I'd like to focus on from this system is the ability of connected vehicles to communicate with nearby vehicles and infrastructure and to know what other vehicles are doing, as this has relevance in addressing some risks raised when REI was initially proposed. This brings us to the current context at both the federal and state level. The Australian and New Zealand Policing Advisory Agency released a reference report on REI technology in 2019. This and a subsequent review by the National Motor Vehicle Theft Reduction Council in 2021 are the only documents to address this in the nationwide context. The reference report was produced as part of a working group established in 2018 by the Federal Government's Ministerial Council for Police and Emergency Management. This came after a proposal from Queensland's Police Minister. Federal Parliament was also lobbied by the Western Australian Police Union in 2018 with a proposal for remote immobilisers, but it never came to fruition. The National Motor Vehicle Theft Reduction Council published their findings in response to a 2021 state government inquiry in Queensland. Of concern in the reference report was the legal framework that would need to be altered to support mandating REI technology in vehicles. Affected legislation included the Motor Vehicle Standards Act, model legislation that is state-specific but managed by the National Transport Commission, and Privacy and Surveillance Acts. States, of course, also have their own legislation about privacy, information and surveillance, but the Commonwealth Acts would also be impacted as vehicles equipped with this technology would understandably be crossing state lines. As said, the issue was first raised in Queensland in 2018, prompting the working group and the 2019 reference report. A state government inquiry was conducted in 2021 with final findings released in 2022, both deeming it not feasible for reasons similar to those raised in 2019. The matter hasn't been revisited in Queensland since then. However, the political landscape in response to crime has changed, as have some other factors that influenced the stated drawbacks of implementing this technology. The negatives initially raised with the implementation of REI were the costs associated, the likelihood further advancements would make REI tech redundant, fears of crime displacement during the rollout, and poor public opinions around the privacy and data storage implications. In a joint statement by then Premier Stephen Miles and Police and Community Safety Minister Mark Ryan, when announcing the statewide expansion of current immobiliser trials, it was revealed this expansion entailed a $15 million investment by the state government. This is on top of the $10 million price tag already attached to the trial's first phase. It is clear that the degree of public outcry at the crime rate today is significant enough that the government have no problem directing money and resources towards a solution. This heightened level of public concern is also likely to begin to outweigh other concerns around REI implementation, the privacy concerns in particular. Attitudes around the crime rates have been discussed heavily already. What I am yet to mention are attitudes around this type of technology being implemented and being controlled by police. Offering a solution to people so affected by rising crime rates that they report not feeling safe in their homes or that think the only option is taking matters into their own hands is more likely to be met with acceptance than resistance. Devices now exist that can track stolen vehicles. Ford, Toyota, Mazda and Mitsubishi have vehicle tracking and other anti-theft capabilities. These are marketing tools and selling points on new vehicles. They aren't avoided by consumers as a privacy issue. They're welcomed. Private vehicle companies have less oversight when it comes to where and how they store this data. By embracing and seeking out tracking technology in vehicles, people have already begun to relax or compromise their moral stance on privacy for the sake of peace of mind. Results from the 2023 Australian Community Attitudes to Privacy Survey also reflect this attitude, with respect to biometric data collection, the use of AI, and providing personal data to AI. Participant responses reflected that Australians trusted law enforcement and government agencies with this more than private businesses. Government agencies also ranked higher for public trust in how they handle data. With appropriate regulations and enough transparency around the process for data storage and usage, resistance is likely to be easily overcome. Hacking is an understandable fear around this type of technology. However, it's been a subject of research for years. Current tech includes intrusion detection systems, encryptions, and authentication protocols. Two articles from 2024 in the Journal of Electronics and the World Electronic Vehicle Journal both found positive results in the technological advancements of cybersecurity. One tested an intrusion detection system that yielded 100% detection rates on the car hacking dataset. The other suggested the implementation of AI for enhancing cybersecurity and blockchain technology for securing communication channels. These and other research all place a level of importance on continued development, so the security of these technologies will likely enhance along with the technology itself. Advancements in technology making REI redundant was another worry. A real-world example of this is OnStar technology that became inoperable when the 3G network shut down. Issues like network connectivity could be mitigated by advancements in technology that allow for network upgrades. When discussing future technology, each of these reports stated that connected or autonomous vehicle technology were likely the frontrunner in advancement that would overshadow REI. With the state of technology now, it appears connected and autonomous technology will complement REI rather than overshadow it. Connected vehicles can assist in identifying target vehicles, since they would have unique digital identifiers. It could also be harnessed to work in conjunction with ANPR cameras or remote tire deflation devices. Another possibility is geofencing, a process whereby remote stop functions are activated when a vehicle enters a specific area. This could mitigate safety issues. Crime displacement was another concern, and would be likely to occur here in the initial phases. Similar trends were seen after mandatory implementation of anti-theft or secondary immobilizers in Australia and the European Union. REI technology isn't as visually evident, however it could lead to offenders targeting older vehicles they presume less likely to have the technology. Instances like this could be mitigated by education campaigns around securing vehicles and keys. The rollout of this technology would take a number of years to complete, so it is a long way off, but the technological advancement, research avenues, and political landscape all point to it likely becoming a reality in Queensland and potentially across Australia. In preparation for the integration of this technology, law enforcement agencies would be prudent to begin partnering with private researchers on the development of this technology. Draft policy and procedures for the deployment of this technology and for data access protocols should also be a focus. This would involve collaboration with other stakeholders. They could also begin looking into how the implementation of this technology could be adapted into current training modules. As is evident in what's changed since the technology was first proposed in 2018, the future is likely to only continue providing advancements in technology and changes in the political and social context to further this as an area of interest, and it as such should remain an area of focus for policing organisations. If it's implemented, REI technology would have positive impacts on crime rates, road safety, officer safety, and help enhance public perceptions of the services delivered by police. Thank you all for your time, and I hope I have left you with something to think about.